Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is day 159. Friday! Happy Friday to everybody. Fantastic. We made it through another week. Yes, it's Friday, August the 11th, 2017. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's get right to it. A federal court orders new searches for Hillary Benghazi emails. Judicial Watch announced that on August 8th, 2017, a D.C. District Court judge ordered the State Department to search the state.gov email accounts on Huma Abedin, Cheryl Mills, and Jacob Sullivan relating to the Benghazi scandal. Well, that's kind of interesting that they would kind of dig back into the Benghazi thing. I thought that ship had sailed, although certainly there's criminal activity that went on there, or certainly unethical activity went on. It's a little, strange that they would be talking about going back and looking at the state.gov account, because we know that Hillary set up a private email server, which is where most of her communications were. But what they're suggesting here, and I think what Judicial Watch is suggesting, that outside of Hillary Clinton's direct loop, that these other individuals, Huma Abedin, Cheryl Mills, and Jacob Sullivan, they may have been using the .gov network to communicate things back and forth, and so they're thinking there might be something there. Of course, this would be hundreds of thousands of emails that they would have to look at. I'm not sure how much time they have or what they're going to do with that. We already know that they're actually going back and looking at all the other emails that they got from the company that had the cloud server that was holding those emails for Platte River. I do believe they just about have all 65,000 of the known Hillary Clinton emails, and I understand that this investigation has been essentially reopened and is ongoing. We even heard yesterday, I reported, that it's being alleged by some sources, multiple sources, that they have already talked to Hillary Clinton through some back channels or maybe directly to her attorney to say, look, there's everything we need here to prosecute. You know that, we know that. And they possibly are discussing with her a plea deal. And that apparently is something that is being discussed. And I don't think that will go over very well with the base. I really, really don't think so. They might get away with a plea deal on some of the other players, but on Hillary herself, no, I don't think so. So it's kind of interesting. They might find something here. I'm not sure exactly what they're looking for when they talk about the Benghazi thing. I guess it's worth looking into. I certainly am not opposed to it, but it seemed to be kind of a ball coming out of left field. But the thing is, right after the Benghazi situation broke out and it became a big scandal, they were supposed to have an internal audit within the State Department where they were supposed to audit, various things and produce documents and stuff like that. So what this tells us is that what we're learning from this, and the reason why Judicial Watch went for this lawsuit, is because they had learned that in the course of this review or investigation or audit or whatever you want to call it, following the Benghazi scandal, it was assumed that they would be looking at a lot of this communication, and at some point Judicial Watch learned that there was never any investigation into the email chain or email conversations between any of these players at the time. And that's kind of extraordinary because, you assume when they say we're going to have this investigation, this internal audit, or what have you, that it would certainly include a look at the communications between the players. But apparently that did not happen, and that is why Judicial Watch, and I think other groups, have been pushing for this. But it appears that the judge in D.C. has basically ordered the State Department to search the state.gov website and to produce any emails by the individuals I mentioned in their communication. So something may pop up or turn up there. I don't really know. The Benghazi thing, we know what happened there. It was more of a cover. I think the crime there is more in the cover-up. It was incompetence. There may have been something going on beyond the incompetence, but essentially it was, the cover-up of the badly flawed execution of whatever they were trying to do in Benghazi. Yeah, there's problems with that, but to me, compared to the Clinton Foundation, compared to Hillary setting up a private server and unsecured server, an illegal server, and all the things she did regarding the emails is a far greater crime, than anything I can imagine with Benghazi. Benghazi was a shame. It was a cover-up. It was, things like that. But the Clinton Foundation and the Hillary Clinton email scam is, to me, there's multiple criminal offenses in that particular thing. So I'm not really sure where the hook is in all this, but no harm done. We'll let it play out as long as the investigations into the email continues. And of course, there certainly should be a look into the Hillary Clinton Foundation, and I am hoping that the new FBI director, Christopher Wray, will do exactly that. Next, it's funny. I love Trump. Today, Trump thanked Putin for booting out 755 U.S. diplomats, saying that it lets the government cut down on its payroll. And Trump tweets out, "We're going to save a lot of money." I'm sure Putin wanted these so-called diplomats. These 755 diplomats, they're not diplomats. They're intelligence officers. Almost all foreign diplomats are intelligence officials, in case you did not know that. And the Russians know that, and we know that. These people spend most of their time in foreign countries working with George Soros-funded groups to create chaos, to bring down governments that don't fall in line, and various operations like that. That's really what these people do. So Putin probably was just looking for a reason. He's happy to throw them out. And hey, that's 755 fewer bureaucrats creating problems that we were paying, in this case, probably hundreds of millions of dollars. So yeah, Trump is right. We're going to save a lot of money, and we don't need them there anyway. They're doing no good. They're only doing harm. So congratulations to Putin. Good move. And thank you very much, Donald Trump, once again, for providing us with some wonderful humor on a Friday. And basically, this is the kind of thing that drives the Soros crowd, the globalist, and the deep state. This is the kind of thing that really drives them nuts, because this cuts right into the heart of their operations and what they do. I mean, these things are far more cutting to the bone than you realize on the surface. This is amazing, this next story. The Nation is now reporting on the DNC leaks, and they're essentially taking and reporting that there was no hacking in the DNC, that the emails were leaked. And they're, of course, using the story that came, that we talked about here maybe 2 weeks ago, from this IT expert named the Forensicator, who did the analysis of the Van file, which showed that the emails had to come locally. They were downloaded locally. They couldn't have been downloaded or drained from somewhere else outside the DNC. It had to happen within the DNC. And so now they picked up on this story, and they're actually running this in the Nation. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the Nation is run by, I guess, the editor-in-chief and pretty much the owner is Katrina VandenHeuvel. Now, VandenHeuvel has pretty much always painted herself as a true classic liberal, but she's a socialist, okay? For all practical purposes, look at her positions. She's essentially a socialist. Now, she's married to, of course, Stephen Cohen. Some of you are familiar with Stephen Cohen. He's the Princeton educated Russian expert professor who has been blackballed over the past. You used to see him on TV all the time, especially on liberal channels. But once they started this Russian narrative, the anti-Putin narrative, going back, oh gosh, probably 10 years ago when it really started, Stephen Cohen, of course, being kind of a pro-Russian or believes in having good relations with Russia, he was pretty much blackballed. Well, that's Stephen Cohen is married to Katrina VandenHeuvel. Now, they're lefties, and they did support Hillary, or at least ways Katrina VandenHeuvel did support Hillary. It was kind of she was holding her nose in supporting Hillary. She really wanted Bernie. But once Bernie lost, she kind of jumped on the corporate Democrat bandwagon and was all in support of Trump. Cohen, I've never really heard him take a position on the election. He focuses almost all his energy on trying to break down barriers between the United States and Russia, and trying to be the opposing voice against the common narrative. So, and I kind of like Stephen Cohen. I mean, I think he's an honest liberal. Katrina at VandenHeuvel just annoys me, but you could say she's probably a fairly honest liberal as well. But anyway, it's just extraordinary that you would see on The Nation that they would be onto this. Now, they really didn't go too deep into the Seth Rich thing and identify, yes, Seth Rich was the leaker, and go into all the other things about could his death have had something to do with the fact that he was a leaker. They didn't go there with the story. They pretty much kept the story limited to, but they used almost the entire story that they got from, I think it was what's that website? Damn it, can't think of the website right now. But anyway, it's a really great website where the story originated, and they put most of that story in there. They left out the Seth Rich part, but they certainly have come out and stated that they, in no uncertain terms, believe that there were no Russian hacks. They're striking down the Russian hacking narrative. So you can see the Russian hacking narrative is breaking down. The Russia collusion has failed, and the questions about Seth Rich remain. More and more evidence comes out, it seems like almost every day, that Seth Rich was the man who leaked those emails, either directly or indirectly, to WikiLeaks. The truth is emerging up from the depths of the swamp in D.C. Trump tweeted on McConnell. He says, "You can ask the question whether Senator McConnell should step aside if he can't deliver on the agenda." It's funny, he did a series of tweets responding to Twitch McConnell. You know, and we talked about what Twitch McConnell said yesterday. Well, it's funny because Trump, you know, really came out, and he didn't challenge him hard, but he certainly put a challenge to him. It's like, you know, either get some results or you should step down, or you should be fired, or what have you. He's not up for re-election in 2018, so you can't really fire him. But certainly you could have members of the Senate, Republican members of the Senate, caucus together and come to the determination that Mitch McConnell, or Stitch McConnell, Twitch McConnell, whatever you want to call him, is not up to the job. He failed miserably, and he should go, and that is true. So it's just funny that Donald Trump is taking him on, and I really hope that what I would love to see is in the 2018 and 2020 elections, congressional elections, I would love to see Trump come out and start endorsing candidates who are taking on and primarying a lot of these heavyweights. I'd love to see him come out and endorse the opponent of Paul Ryan. I would love to see him come out and endorse the opponents of a lot of these deep state criminals who have been working to destroy his presidency and make sure that his legislative agenda fails. I would love to see him come out and get behind these people, and it just may happen. I wouldn't put anything past Trump. Do not put anything past him, my friends. We still have a ways to go. There's much more to be learned. A lot of things will happen between now and the August prior, which is when the campaign really starts. You know, July, August of next year, prior to the 2018 elections, is really when this will heat up, and we'll get a chance to see exactly where we are at that point and what Trump chooses to do. He has a lot of power. For him to come out and endorse, you know, the anti-Trump Republicans, big state, deep state Republicans, those who are fighting him on his agenda, for him to come out and endorse their opponent would be extraordinary. It would be a big shot in the arm, and it could help really turn that 2018 election into something extraordinary, which I'll be talking about on a later date. The governor of Guam gives Trump his full support on his comments to retaliate if Guam is attacked. That's pretty funny, because a lot of the left-wing media was talking about his comments and stuff, and then you get the governor of Guam coming out saying, "Hey, I love what Trump said. I have no problem with it. You know, North Korea is threatening us. Yeah, he can use any language he likes. It's nice for us to know that we got a strong president who will defend us." So once again, the liberal media gets punked. The True Pundit. Fusion GPS did turn over thousands of documents to the Senate Judiciary Committee, but the documents do not appear to be what the committee wants. Lots of things that they turned over consisted of a lot of news clippings and various things, but the Judiciary Committee wanted copies of the contracts that the firm signed for its work on the dossier. That's what they want. That's what they want, Mr. Simpson. And one way or another, they're going to get it. You may be able, they're playing, trying to play this game like a lot of people do, run the clock out, to drag this thing on and on and on and on and on. You can try to play that game, and you may be able to drag it out for a year or 2 or 3 years, but eventually, they'll probably get the answers to those questions, and we will probably learn exactly who that donor was who paid and funded that dossier. And I assure you that when you follow the tricky little movement of money from here to there to here to there to here to there, when it finally ends up at the place where that money originated, you'll find that it originated with the Reverend Hillary Rotten Clinton. That's right, Reverend Rotten Clinton, probably holding Sunday morning seances as planning Sunday morning seances as we speak. This Hillary, the Reverend Hillary Rotten Clinton story is it's still getting some traction out there. I posted up the link yesterday so you all could know for sure I wasn't lying to you about it. But that story has everything. That's why it's still moving, because it takes you into the world of fantasy almost. You almost have to be in a fantasy world to even accept that the Reverend Hillary Rotten Clinton would have an interest in things of such a nature, of a religious nature. I mean, it's like, the story. It has everything but the flying monkeys, and melting witches, and the guys there. Oh, 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 oh. I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog, too. It has everything. It's the theatrics of it are just unbeatable. I mean, it's just, it's just when you picture the Reverend Hillary Rotten Clinton standing there trying to deliver with a straight face anything out of the Bible. Maybe she should start on the 10 Commandments. Maybe she should start with one of those commandments that we are all familiar with called, "Thou shalt not kill." How about that one, Reverend Rotten? Maybe that should be your first sermon. Over 60% of Maine residents less likely to vote for Susan Collins because of her vote not to repeal Obamacare. Now, Susan Collins is a nut. She's been popular there in Maine, but the people in Maine are kind of crazy, if you know what I mean. So they're not really, even a conservative in Maine is pretty liberal. So Susan Collins has been pretty popular and been able to win by pretty healthy majorities when she has always been running for the Senate as a senator there. But now you can see how angry people are. This is what I told you. I've been picking up in the comments section. Even mainstream Republicans. Listen to Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity. It's not just the alternative media or the so-called alt-right. This is mainstream so-called conservative radio. Sean Hannity, Rush Limbaugh, the two biggies, along with all the other kind of medium-sized guys. And whatever conservative pundits that you like to listen to, you'll see that this is showing up with a lot of the people who follow them. You're hearing it on their broadcast. Even Limbaugh is talking about the deep state coup. Sean Hannity talking about the deep state coup. You're hearing all these things. So this is really seeping its way very strongly into the mainstream of thought of rank and file, regular, straight up and down Republicans. Not, extreme Republicans, extreme right, or any of that type of thing, or people who would watch, say, My Channel, or a Styx Hexenheimer, or anything like that, or Molyneux. It's, or Alex Jones even. It's not even that crowd. It's your mom and dad. It's your grandma and grandpa. It's the rank and file, standard, Republican that's feeling this way. And this is what's reflected by this poll. So, Susan Collins is in some serious trouble. And I think that you're going to see a lot of establishment Republicans in serious trouble in 2018 and in 2020. I think we could be looking at something quite historic. And we'll talk more about that in the future. CNN. CNN now reporting that the Democrats are a disaster. They are leaderless and are in complete disarray. Do any of you remember? Do any of you remember just 1 year ago, last August, CNN, especially Rachel Maddow and all of her friends, showing you that electoral map, talking about how Hillary could actually get 350 electoral votes. Donald Trump may not even get 100 votes. Hillary could win 48 states. It could be the biggest landslide in history. Donald Trump was destroying the party. He was going to destroy the party. Republicans are running from him. The Republican Party is collapsing. It's a disaster. It's a dumpster fire. Oh, but the Democrats got their shit together, friends. They got Debbie Wasserman Schultz running a tight ship. They got this great ground game. Hillary Clinton's out there raising $1.2 billion. They got the support of Hollywood. They got the support of big media. They got the support of Wall Street. They got the support of the neocons, the military-industrial complex. They got it all. And the Republicans are a dumpster fire. This is what CNN was telling us just 1 year ago. Go back and watch the video clips. Don't take my word for it. Go back and watch the video clips. And today you now have the Democrats coming out and saying exactly the opposite. And you know, they were right about the Republicans in the sense that the Republicans were also a party that was on their way into complete implosion. Donald Trump saved the Republican Party. He's trying to save the Republican Party. Now, he did his part. He did his part, and he's holding up his end of the deal. But he cannot fire the Congress. Only you and I can fire the Congress. We are the only ones who can drain that swamp. And that's what we must do in 2018 and 2020. Because they were half right. The Republican Party is a dumpster fire. But the Democrats, the problems they got are much bigger, much deeper. And they haven't even addressed their problem. They don't even seem to acknowledge their problem. They don't even seem to be aware that they have a problem. They seem to think that they can just whistle past it and pretend it doesn't exist. It's like a person with a serious drug addiction that won't admit they have a serious drug addiction and think it will just all go away. It will never go away. You have to deal with it. They've got a lot of problems. And the biggest problem they had, that they should have known before they ever tried it, was nominating Reverend Hillary Rotten Clinton, who's still under criminal investigation. And hopefully, Mr. Chopra, as per your comment, I hope you win the bet. I hope you get them drinks. If you do, I'll even find out where your closest watering hole is, and I'll give him a call, and I'll wire him some cash and say, "Buy Mr. Chopra a double," and I'll join you. You're gonna love this story. It's Fun Friday, man. What can I say? It's Fun Friday. I want to find some fun stuff. Okay. The special election loser, Jon Ossoff, is to discuss how to win elections at a progressive conference. Okay, there's a couple problems with this. First of all, Mr. Ossoff, despite spending 7 times what his opponent did, just like Hillary, lost. And he didn't, and it wasn't as close, nearly as close as they thought it would be in that special election in Georgia. Not only that, he's not a progressive. Progressives hate Jon Ossoff. They hated him. Watch all the progressive. Watch any of the watch the Humanist Report. Watch the Humanist, whatever his name is, Mike, whatever, Figueroa. Watch the Secular Talk. Even the Young Turks. Watch any of these lefty. They hated Jon Ossoff. They hated Jon Ossoff. So he's going to appear at a progressive conference and explain how progressives can win elections when he himself did not even run or claim to be a progressive. And nobody likes him. Progressives don't like Mr. Ossoff. And he lost. And he lost badly. Outspending his opponent 7-1. Unbelievable. Yesterday, the neocon, Bill Kristol, said that never-Trumpers should rebrand themselves as liberals. Now, folks, I swear, I literally just stumbled onto this today. I didn't know this yesterday when I did yesterday's video, when I gave you just a brief snippet of the history of the neocons, and I told you that the neocons originally began as liberals. They are liberals. They've always been liberals. They're just liberals who are hawks on defense and are very Israel-centric. That's who they are. So for Kristol to come out and say, well, we should just come out and brand ourselves as liberals. It's because you are liberals. As are most of the members of the Republican Party. That's why you fit in so well. Because they're liberal too. If they weren't liberal, we'd have an economy that looks like Hong Kong. But we don't. Bill Kristol. He's got a face you just want to slap, doesn't he? He kind of reminds, if he was missing that gap in his tooth right there, he'd look like the mad Alfred E. Newman. He'd look like Alfred E. Newman. Yes, Bill Kristol, whose father, Irving Kristol, was one of the founders of the neoconservatives. Bill Kristol is a guy that just loves war. He just loves war. He's never participated in a war, nor would he ever. He's a coward. He's never been in the military, doesn't know anything about the military. He just loves wars. But all neocons do. That's what they do. And it has a lot to do with the fact that people like Bill Kristol is funded by defense contractors. They make sure that Bill Kristol has a platform to sell his warmongering, because he sells war. And they're in the business of making the weapons of war. It's a perfect relationship. It's a love-love relationship. And I'm sure that Bill Kristol, I'm sure he's a big fan and voted for the Reverend Hillary Rotten Clinton. A new video has surfaced. Actually, it's an old video, but it's newly surfaced. It's resurfaced. And the video is from a Benghazi hearing where Trey Gowdy asked Loretta Lynch if she ever used personal email for her Department of Justice emails, and he reminded her that it's a violation of DOJ policy if she had, and Loretta Lynch said no. But as a result of these recent documents that were dropped on Judicial Watch and the American Center for Law and Justice, even though most of the pages were redacted, we now know that in fact Loretta Lynch did communicate on a network outside of .gov. We know that that was the unsecure network where she discussed classified information and where she used an alias. Apparently her mother-in-law, or I think it was her mother-in-law's name or her mother's maiden name or something. So we now know that Lynch lied again. How many lies do you have to catch this woman in? How many lies? I mean, caught red-handed. These are not even close. These are not even close. Being reported today that the Trump administration has shed 11,000 federal employees in just 6 months. You can add 755 to that. That would be 11,755 federal employees. Do you know how much money that represents? How much money you're saving? You know how much those people make when you figure in their benefits and everything else? It's in the six figures. Every single damn one of them. So you're talking close to 12,000 just in 6 months. If he continues at this pace, he could literally shrink the bureaucrat base in government by probably 25% after 4 years. If he continues what he's doing, which I think he will. When he said he's going to drain the swamp, he's doing his very best. And you don't think a lot about all the bureaucrats buried in a lot of these agencies, but they're there, and he knows they're there. And you don't hear much about this being reported, but the fact that in 6 months he has allowed 11,000 federal employees to take a hike tells you that he is serious about draining the swamp, reducing the size of government and the federal bureaucracy. This is amazing news, just more good news. Anything that Trump can do, that he can do on his own without the Congress, he's doing. And it's all good, my friends. Fellow Democrats are turning on Debbie Do Anything for Hillary blabbermouth Wasserman Schultz. Nikki Barnes, a progressive DNC member from Debbie Do Anything for Hillary blabbermouth Wasserman Schultz's own district in Florida, says that Wasserman Schultz left the Democratic Party in shambles. Yes, she did. And she isn't done yet. According to Barnes, none of her actions make sense. And she says that there must have been something in it for her. And she's talking about her defending Imran Awan. The major effort that she went to defend him, and I imagine to this day she still is defending him, because she's blaming all the things that are coming down on him now as being racism or hatred against Muslims or what have you. That's what she's blaming. So the walls are collapsing on Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and of course, as you know, I said in yesterday's video, again, before I even read this story, that there's going to be a lot of pressure on Debbie Do Anything for Hillary blabbermouth Wasserman Schultz to step down. There's just going to be a lot of heat on her because we're coming up on an election year. There's just a bad taste in everyone's mouth. It is true that she left the Democratic Party in shambles, horribly mishandled that situation. Tom Perez is no better or any different than blabbermouth Wasserman Schultz. And I think for a lot of people, especially progressives in that party, they will accept nothing less than Debbie Wasserman Schultz being booted from that party. And she should be. But I mean booted from the Congress as well, because she still has a seat in Congress. I think she is going to be forced to step down. I think there's going to be a lot of political turmoil in the next 3-4 years, coming up to 2020. A lot of people think a lot of that political turmoil will be with Trump and the people around him. Yes, they're going through some trials and tribulations right now, but it will pass. And once it does, the focus will change. The Democrats will have no more have that crutch there, along with their friends in the media, and they'll be forced to face their own harsh reality. As will many rhino Republicans will be facing a similar type of reality. I do believe we are headed for a major groundbreaking political event in 2018 and probably to continue into 2020. A lot of people thought the election of Donald Trump in 2016, defeating all those establishment candidates, was a watershed moment in political history, which it was. A historic moment in political history, which it was. Groundbreaking, of course, which it was. But I think there's much more to come, and what could be even bigger than that. I think that we just have to watch very closely, because you can see that things are shifting. The winds are beginning to change to another direction. The winds of change are blowing, and they're beginning to blow in the right direction, because we continue to keep the narrative in question. We continue to change the narrative to something that's closer to the truth. We continue to put pressure on these people. We continue to talk about Seth Rich and the deep state, the surveillance, the unmasking, the obstruction. We just won't let it go. I won't. I know none of you will. We're going to stay on it like white on rice. And my friends, we will be vindicated, as will the president. And every now and then, a little justice prevails. God willing, that will happen. In this case, and we'll all maybe get a good night's sleep. The frustration can keep you awake, but don't let it. Thank you for tuning in, my friends. This has been TowerGate, Friday, day 159. Thank you so much for tuning in, August the 11th, 2017. I look forward to seeing you on Saturday evening for our next video. Have no idea what will happen between now and then. We'll have to keep our ears peeled to see what happens. I'll see you then. Thank you so much for tuning in. Good night.